Hey guys, welcome back to Defiant Joy. I know it's been a minute. I was trying to do episodes on a weekly basis, but I'm having to tone that down because, my body's just messing with me every time. So, try to do every other week now, but we'll go ahead and dive in. So, this is another Focus on Diagnosis episode. As you can see, I've made many of these, and these are all the diagnoses that I have received. Hopefully, this is the last one that I need to do. This is the last diagnosis that I have been given so far, but with autoimmune disease, it's like more just jump on the bandwagon, it feels like. But today's focus on diagnosis is about POTS. That is an acronym POTS, and that stands for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome. So, what does that mean? Postural, as in how you're standing or sitting or laying down. Orthostatic is, what is your blood doing, your blood volume in relation to that posture. And tachycardia means your heart is going too fast. And syndrome is basically a cluster of symptoms from that. So POTS is under the umbrella of dysautonomia. There are many, many types of dysautonomias, and they know for sure I have dysautonomia, but they suspect it is secondary POTS. That hasn't been officially determined, but given all the other clues, that seems to be the case, that it's secondary POTS. What does that mean? It means I developed POTS secondary to something else. In my case, the biggest probability is autoimmune disease because that has caused all the other secondary things that I've had. So please comment below if you want and share, what has caused POTS for you if you've had that identified. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe because that helps other people see this channel and get some visibility because there's a lot of people out there, I think, that are dealing with this and they are not being listened to by various medical professionals. So it is the case that some medical professionals don't even believe that these things exist. Thankfully, there are autonomic clinics out there that have clearly shown that, yes, this is a very real thing. But because it has a sliding scale of how it affects someone, usually it's only the very debilitating situations that get the attention of medical professionals when you're going to the ER because of blood pressure issues or something like that. So please help us get the word out there. That's one of the big issues. That's a big purpose of this channel, hopefully, is to get some awareness and let people know that you are absolutely not alone and we can relate. So if you are a medical professional watching this, I thank you so much for taking the time to hear what a patient has to say. I think that's a real testament to who you are as a doctor or a nurse or whatever you are in the field and medical profession. So thank you so much. If you're a family member, I hope that this shows you that your loved one, has symptoms that other people are experiencing as well and gives you some ideas how to help them through it. So I know that is extremely challenging too as a loved one or a caregiver. I see that my family members walk alongside with me and it's very stressful for them. So thank you for being here too. And if you're dealing with this condition or something similar to it, I hope this gives you some clues to maybe investigate further or present to your doctors or whoever you're working with, or if you are diagnosed with it, maybe some options to help. We'll go ahead and dive in. So yes, it was POTS symptoms were one of the earliest things that I noticed that something was systemically wrong with me. I was having trouble standing in place, doing absolutely nothing. And, I used to be an athlete. I could sense when my heart was like resting in like the mid 50s. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I was like standing doing nothing. It would skyrocket to 113, 123 beats per minute. I just standing in place doing nothing. So I thought that was pretty weird. I started getting dizzy standing in place. I couldn't tolerate my feet not moving. And I'm not an anxious person. It was literally like I felt like I'm going to be nauseous or I'm going to pass out if my feet aren't moving, which is very strange. I'd never experienced that before. So being a woman of my age, I'm 35, it's, I could become pregnant and I'm married. So, that's not out of the realm of possibility. My first thought is maybe I'm pregnant because some of the dizziness, I could kind of remember from my pregnancy. But that was definitely shown not to be the case. So, they were like, well, maybe, it's perimenopause. Some people start, at your age. It's not out of the realm of possibility. That was also proven not to be the case. So, I've seen this, unfortunately, a lot of times with women patients. The doctor's like, well, it's just stress. You need to handle stress better. Because a lot of these POTS symptoms can mimic like a panic attack or something. Well, I was like, I know for sure that is not what's going on. I was like, my instincts are something is systemically wrong in my body. But this was probably a year before I had an ANA panel, detecting autoimmune disease. I was experiencing this, but I was not listened to for a long time. My ACL in my knee failed, and that was later found to be because of mixed connective tissue disease combined with dystonia. A violent dystonia spasm tore my knee and prevented it from rehabilitating. I thank God for that, because I think that incident actually helped me get the attention I needed from doctors, because they expected me to recover. I was athletic and healthy, and I didn't. And suddenly they started investigating further. So even though I lost mobility in that leg, I really believe it saved my life. So I'm very grateful that I was given attention, but I understand and can relate to you completely if you feel like you're not being listened to. So I hope this will give you some clues for how to, get more attention from doctors. But yes, one resource you can go to is called the Dysautonomia Project. That's a website, but there's also a book by the same name. This was forwarded to me by my cardiologist, who thankfully was knowledgeable about POTS and dysautonomia. I think he really saved my quality of life by his knowledge. But if you're looking to see if, these symptoms line up with what's going on with you, there is a little survey on there that you can print out and show your doctors. The overlap you have, and it's enormously helpful. But there's also tools that you can use to help yourself cope with this syndrome. So that's useful. But yes, I got passed from rheumatology, and obviously my autoimmune symptoms that were most severe and life-threatening were, given the most attention. I was having life-threatening lung issues, disabling mobility issues and movement disorders, and lack of muscle control and different things that neurology and rheumatology took up the most time addressing that and stabilizing me. I'm very thankful for that. But the POTS symptoms that were the initial clue that something was wrong with me got backburnered, because they were kind of like, an inconvenience and an annoyance, but they weren't like threatening to me at that time. Well, as the autoimmune disease has kind of gotten reined in with immunosuppressants and different measures, unfortunately, the dysautonomia seems to have become more and more aggravated and taken the forefront. Maybe that's because the other things aren't getting as much of my attention, but it does feel like it is getting worse. I used to be able to drive, and dysautonomia is one of the primary reasons why I stopped driving. So what is happening now at this point? So basically, I cannot stand in place for more than 3 to 5 minutes, or I will start like swaying. And I haven't officially completely blacked out, dropped out, fainted yet, but I have gotten real close to just falling over, and a family member or my service dog catches me. But thankfully, I haven't completely gone unconscious yet. But why is that causing an issue? It's from low blood pressure. Let's see what else I have to do. So yes, that was affecting driving as well. And, I've had blood pooling in my feet and my calves, and that's a huge issue if you're driving. It used to be I couldn't drive for more than like an hour, but if I did under that, I was okay, especially if I was, had high sodium in my body and compression. But when it got to the point I couldn't drive 5 minutes without starting to get dizzy and feeling that blood pooling, even with compression and sodium, I knew that this was getting worse. So I decided to stop driving for the safety of not just myself and my family, but other drivers on the road. So yes, please comment below if that has affected something significant in your life. There's definitely a spectrum with dysautonomia and POTS, and different types of dysautonomias where it can be a kind of annoyance and inconvenience, but you can function day to day, especially if you take measures to combat it. And then there's another side of the spectrum where it could be life-threatening and completely debilitating. And I would say, unfortunately, I have slid from the annoyance scale to the life-threatening scale. So what do I do to kind of handle what is going on with POTS with me? So at the advice of my cardiologist, and please make sure you're consulting a cardiologist and also a neurologist if necessary about how to manage POTS. But my cardiologist said that I should wear certain compression clothing. He told me to get high knee socks. He also said there's some that go to like up to your thighs. Those always roll down for me, so I went with the over the calf socks. And that helps blood pooling in the feet and legs. And he said a specific brand of compression tights called Homa brand. But yeah, these go all the way up above, my belly button, like mid-torso. And that prevents most of the blood pooling, because apparently it can happen a lot in your abdomen. So that's been very helpful. But he also told me that as someone that's dealing with dysautonomia, I had to drastically up my sodium because I was struggling with low blood pressure. Now, just a big side note here, there is a small population of people that have POTS that struggle with high blood pressure. So make sure you're talking to a medical professional before you add any sodium in your diet, because if you know high blood pressure, like that can be life-threatening to add that into your diet. But on the other hand, if you're like me and you struggle with low blood pressure, not adding sodium, you can have a life-threatening situation from low blood pressure. So I was advised by my cardiologist to take 7,000 to 10,000 milligrams of sodium per day. Just for an idea, the normal healthy person should have about 2,000. So that is a very hard thing to meet, even if you're eating a very high sodium diet. But I do have these sodium tablets, and I take one of those a day. I used to take 3 of them a day. However, so that's like, 3 grams of sodium, or 3,000, sorry. Nope, it is 3 grams. The other 1 gram tablets, 3 grams of sodium a day, and that would definitely get me where I need to be. However, I was having stomach issues. They're very rough on the stomach, so I just start the day with that, and that helps me get out of bed. But I am careful because I was having some gastro issues because of how aggressive pure sodium can be, especially with no food in your stomach. I'm not sponsored by this brand, but I'm sharing with you guys because it has helped me enormously. I put this in everything I drink every day. It's called Buoy and Rescue Drops. It's a little pricey, but it is wonderful and it is so helpful. So anything I drink, I'm squirting some of that in there, and it gets me that sodium, helps me keep it up. But you can get some from like Walmart that has a similar effect, and you just have to make sure you have the sugar-free. This has no sugar or flavor in it, because some autoimmune diseases react bad to processed sugar. Mine does. They also, that same company has rescue salt, so I keep some of this in the bed, next to my nightstand by the bed, in the car with me, and my service dog actually keeps this in his collar, and this has saved me from going to the emergency room on several occasions. So yeah, just a pinch of this on your tongue. You don't have to swallow it like the sodium tablets. It can literally just go into your bloodstream, and I usually revive from, a low blood pressure situation in like 5 minutes. So from feeling like I'm about to like have a medical crisis to I feel pretty good and normal. So that's been very helpful. Yes, obviously I have to check my blood pressure constantly, so I did invest in a nice blood pressure cuff. I was told by the pharmacist that the ones that go around your arm are much more accurate than the ones that go around your wrist, which even though the wrist is a bit more convenient if you have mobility or movement disorder issues, it is much more accurate. And with me, I can't play with, what my blood pressure is doing, so I went with one of these. But I think this was about $90, but they have different price ones. But yeah, definitely get an accurate one. It has been worth the investment. So those are just some things that I do to manage. Another thing is that if I am sitting for more than 3 or 5 minutes, I have a collapsible stool. So you can find various versions of these like online on Amazon or something. But I keep it in the car, so if I'm going to church and going to sit for quite a bit extended time, I can put that down. Or wherever I am, I don't have to worry about not having somewhere to lift up my feet, because keeping your feet elevated can keep you from passing out when you have POTS like this. So those are just some of the measures that I do. Yes, guys, and please, if you can relate to any of this, please like and subscribe. And if you feel like it, sharing with someone that you think might benefit from this, because that is the goal of my channel, is to bring awareness to these conditions and these syndromes. And I think they are definitely not talked about enough. I think a lot of times this is kind of seen as like a trendy issue. And, I think the level of people that have POTS has definitely gone up. It's being studied that there might be a secondary cause from COVID-19 infection that has caused an increase in the population with dysautonomia-like symptoms. For me, that definitely lines up in the timeline. But, they just call mine for now dysautonomia secondary POTS. So what does that mean? I have some kind of autonomic nervous system failure secondary to something else, and it has caused postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So they think, in my case, it's caused by severe autoimmune damage. But it can be caused by many, many things. So definitely check out the Dysautonomia Project website if you want to learn more. Okay, so I'm reading my notes here. I got to make sure I am doing what I'm doing. Oh, yes. And if you want to see more day-to-day of what's going on with me, I am a dog trainer, and you can follow me on Facebook. My name is also Defiant Joy on there, and you'll see a picture of me with my service dog. He's a German Shepherd, Chase, as the profile picture. But yeah, some people are kind of amazed that I have a medical alert dog for my condition. So he does two things. He does mobility because I have a lot of movement disorder issues. I'm a fall risk now, and I have a very high risk of joint tears if I have instability. So he does a lot with that. But on the other hand, he does medical alert. And that has been enormously helpful for me and has been protecting my life because, yes, I'll be in completely asleep. He sleeps on the floor in the bedroom with my husband and I, and he's woken us up from just us being completely asleep, and he'll start whining and pawing at me. And sure enough, my blood pressure is getting so low, it's getting dangerous. So I can take some sodium and go back to bed safely. But yeah, I don't know how he like smells this like when he should be sleeping, but he wakes up to that. But yes, I've trained him to detect the chemistry in my body, when my blood pressure is going down. So how did I do that? You can see more if you follow me on Facebook. I do a lot of videos with training. I'm training a future medical alert mobility puppy right now. She will later take over for him in a couple years once he retires. But you can follow how I do that there and with greater detail. But that can also be beneficial, especially if you have a debilitating version of this like me. And when I say it's debilitating, like, what does that mean? I'm not being dramatic. Like, it has literally taken away my ability to drive, my ability to sit normally in a chair, my ability to just stand up in the shower. I have to be very fast if I'm making something for, lunch or dinner. I've just started kind of like heating something up that's pre-made because I can't stand in place to do what it requires at the stove. My husband, thankfully, he loves doing the dishes. I know that's unusual, but it's a huge blessing because, that just standing in place doing the dishes, that can make you pass out. So yeah, this can affect many, many things in day-to-day life. So definitely, if you're struggling with this, speak up and tell your doctors about it. But just so you're aware, I've gone through rheumatology, cardiology, and neurology, and all of them have agreed unanimously it's dysautonomia. They suspect secondary POTS, but none of the doctors I have seen are specialists with autonomic dysfunction. So right now, I'm waiting to be forwarded to Vanderbilt's autonomic dysfunction clinic in Nashville. But I've heard there's also a good one with Cleveland Clinic, a POTS clinic there. So you may have to find a specialist for POTS, but there is a huge wait list, I've heard. So that I'm kind of in the holding period there. So please share if that's what you're dealing with and the measures that you've taken to combat that. But I will go ahead, guys, and do our verse today. And I want to do Psalm 27:13. And that says, I had fainted unless I believed to see the goodness of Yahweh in the land of the living. So I thought that was appropriate because, it's a common misconception that in order to have POTS, you have to faint. It's called syncope, but, a lot of people like me, they come very close to fainting, and you have that instinct, like if something isn't changed quickly in a matter of seconds, I will faint. So whether that's changing your posture or getting sodium in or wearing compression, like you are imminently going to faint. And it's a scary feeling to feel. But I thought this verse was appropriate because it said, I had fainted unless I believed to see the goodness of Yahweh in the land of the living. So that I had fainted, opening to the verse, some translations say, still I am certain, that I would see the goodness of the Lord. Or some say, I would have lost heart unless, I believed to see the goodness of the Lord. Or I would have despaired unless. Or where would I be if I did not believe that I would experience the Lord's favor in the land of the living? So I just love this verse, guys, because it speaks to that defiant joy and also, feeling faint and dizzy. But, I definitely feel that. I would despair, not being listened to by doctors, experiencing incredibly severe symptoms, going from being very athletic and capable to not being able to stand up and make a sandwich with ease or drive, I would have despaired. But unless I believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord, I love that it says in the land of the living. So I just encourage you guys to look out for his goodness, and I'll pray for us now. Yahweh, I just thank you so much for the ways that you show your goodness to us. I just pray that you would help us open our eyes to see where that is. Help us to believe, Lord, to see your goodness now and here where we are. I know it can be so exhausting in these bodies that are doing their own thing and breaking down and not listening to, the cues from our brain signals, the doctor's medicines, or anything else, different therapies. However, it doesn't matter, Lord. We can still see your goodness here and now. And I pray that you would help us to be an example because of our defiant joy, not giving up in the midst of this. And also I pray, Lord, for ways to be made for doctors to listen if there's someone watching and they have not been listened to. Please make a way for those appointments to happen and those specialists that are familiar and knowledgeable with these conditions to be seen. In your name, Jesus, amen. I love you guys. Stay defiant, and I'll see you next time.